Hello and welcome to Super Rugby Round 3 preview brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, a YouTube channel, a podcast, a Twitter account and a website bringing you the best in rugby predictions and opinion. And I am joined by the one, the only, the clown of rugby in New Zealand. It is Steve. How are you doing, sir?
That's a great introduction. I'm quite happy. Actually, I've fixed my audio now, so all is good. The clown is back, so that should get the comments going nicely. Oh, it's not fixed.
It's not fixed. You've gone all loud on me, but never mind. So for those of you that missed out, a couple of shows ago, I can't remember exactly which one it was, someone came on the live chat and went, Paul, why do you have that guy on? And I'm like, well, because he's fun to talk rugby with. He's like, he's a clown. All the others are great. Nah, he's fantastic. We love clowns. They're all good. Especially after a couple of beers. So yes, I'm sorry if this show does go a bit wild, but yes, I have been out on work beers for a while. So I will try and keep it on the straight and narrow. And you know what, Steve, it's all down to you. You're the sensible one tonight. You're not the clown. I'll be the clown. I've got big red shoes on, all that kind of stuff. So anyway,
we're like a sight. I've got a numb mouth and a spastic mic. And then you're half drunk.
Whoa. Careful on the words there. You've got a numb mouth and a mic that's not working. That's different. Stupid mic. Thank you.
It's going all over the place.
It is. So good evening, Andre, who is on the live chat. Good to see you. Good friend of mine. And right, let's kick off. So Blues versus the Chiefs. Just so everyone knows, I will be doing live post-match reaction with the real Mike Pullman after that show. I'm a Blues fan. He's a Chiefs fan. So it should kick off and be great fun. But surely the whole story around this game is injuries.
Yeah, well, the Blues have lost Sonny Bill, haven't they? Which is the biggest thing. I'm now stop trying to fix it, even though it's echoing a little bit. But yeah, Sonny Bill's out, so that doesn't help. And it's still going really, really bad. But yeah, the Blues have got to try and work it out without him. Yeah, and I've completely lost track trying to fix this now. But yeah, what about the Blues? I think the Blues are pretty good in round one, so if they can keep more of the same of that, they should go pretty good against the Chiefs too. I don't know if anyone's watched my video, but people from Blues country will probably be pretty happy with what I've thought about this game.
Well, yeah, I mean, we did the live show straight after the Highlanders Blues last weekend, and we both said basically that there's a lot of positives to take out of that for the Blues. And if we look at the lineup, as we say, we've lost two players. One is Sonny Williams, and the other player is Kiri Kiri. Now, Kiri Kiri basically, for my mind, lost the game for the Blues. Obviously, the Highlanders won the game. Don't get me wrong; they were worth the win. But Kiri Kiri gave up a yellow card. He also gave up a penalty at the end there, which allowed the Highlanders to pull away again, and had an absolute shocker. Now, to add on to those two events, he also managed to get himself suspended for basically, from what I can read, headbutting another player. Now, I've not seen whilst I watched the game, it didn't stand out at that event. But yeah, he's ended up with a one-game ban for, I think it was striking another player with his head. Of all the things to do in this modern age of rugby, when we're talking about player welfare, striking someone with the head seems a little bit stupid. Is that too harsh?
No, not really. No, what he did in that whole match was pretty stupid. Really, he was, all over the place. He was not very responsible in his role, and it's good that he's really out because it's good for the Blues. They've got plenty of good replacements. I mean, when you got Jimmy Tupou still there and Kiri Ioane's still there, I mean, they got some pretty good guys sitting up there as well already. So, no, brain explosion from that guy. He was just at sea completely, and he needs to sort it out over the next few weeks pretty quickly as well, before he gets a chance at a Blues jumper, that's for sure.
No, absolutely. He has, yeah, he clearly was a bit too messing around, and yeah, he needs to get his head sorted because he had a shocker of a game. So you know, as you say, in reality, losing him is actually a bonus for the Blues. Losing Sonny Williams is not, though. That's a fairly serious loss for them. But if we look on the Chiefs side, I mean, they've got injuries all over the park. And we've seen Charlie Ngatai has been added to that, unfortunately, towards in the last game. And yeah, it's, as Mike said, this is the strongest side the Chiefs could have called upon. And if there's any more injuries, they're going to be calling up the Beaver and Zach Guildford.
I hope not. I certainly hope not, because I'm not. Donald would be good. Always welcome to see him back. But as for Zach Guildford, no, they can surely find better out there than Zach Guildford. Nothing against him. But the Chiefs looking a bit shaky, eh? Their injury ward is looking pretty heavy, and their team is starting to break out in places as well. A little bit of weakness is showing here and there, especially like through their backline. They've got a couple of guys who, you'd prefer them coming off the bench to play in the games as well. But, against the Blues, it depends if they can back up from last week and do that same sort of performance they did against the Highlanders again. But the Chiefs, they need to get some players back. But it's a typical Chiefs story, isn't it? They seem to be like this every year. It seems to always be injuries, and they always seem to lose key players. And how long is it going to take Mackenzie to learn number 10? That's going to be big for them as well.
Well, I thought Mackenzie in the first half had issues at number 10, but in the second half, when he took 2 steps back, gave himself a bit more space, looked much more like a Super Rugby fly half. I guess my main problem then was with the fact that that decision couldn't be made on the pitch and had to be made by the coaches. But we've got a lot of teams nowadays that don't have enough leadership on the pitch. And I think that's probably what they're lacking more than anything else, is that leadership for someone to take him by the scruff of the neck and say, look, mate, take 2 steps back. Stop trying to force it. Stop trying to play on the line so much, and we'll be fine. I think the big difference the Blues will find between last week and this week is the forward pack. Brady Retallick, Sam Cane, Liam Messam. That is a serious forward pack that's being put out there by the Chiefs, injuries or no injuries. So I think that's going to be the way this game is won and lost, is can the Blues get some front football for their backs? If they can, then they should be fine at home, because as we say, the Chiefs are likely to fade in that last 20 when they lack the players coming off the bench. They've lost, Tim Darnell-Williams, and they lost like 3 more players last weekend as well. So they're well down on the old injury list, and I think that that we're going to see the Blues come out here. I've actually gone for the Blues by a slim margin, just 3 points. I think this could be decided by the bounce of the ball. So I will kind of, what's his what? Come on then, sir.
Give exactly the same as my pick.
Is it? Oh, that's fine.
I thought I was going out on a limb by going by the Blues by 3. I thought, this is a difference maker here, but no, you've stolen my point.
So I'm in a Blues jersey as well. So that adds 7 points to the Blues. If you're a home supporter, you always go 7 points extra than you should do. So clearly, Steve here has lost the plot. He should be. But anyway, we're both going Blues by 3. That's not unrealistic. There's a lot of injuries in here, and that is going to be the big differentiator. Remember, Real Mike Pullman and I, straight after the final whistle in YouTube, giving you post-match reactions. So if it doesn't turn out to be Blues by 3, come on there, give me some flack. Let me know what little I know about rugby, because we want to get that done and dusted, because we'll have the Reds versus the Brumbies up soon after that one. Can we take anything out of the Reds' performance last weekend?
Well, you can probably take that first 20 minutes out of it, couldn't you? Because that's probably the biggest advantage that they found. They played pretty well straight after they lost Higginbotham. They scored the try. They were down by a couple of men at one point, and they still actually controlled that game. So, I think they can take a little bit out of it. But, the rest of the 60, definitely not. And probably the end, I guess, they did finish probably the strongest out of the 2 sides. So a bit of positives to take, but a lot still improving.
No, I agree. There's some positives to take early on, but the problem is about the strength and depth in this team. So they've lost Higginbotham, they've lost Tui, both to suspension, and that means that we have Wright at number 7 having his run-on debut. And if we look at the bench, we've got Hockings, who's the reserve second rower, Super Rugby debut. Scott Young, again, is the back row bench option, Super Rugby debut. This is a very thin squad. We are already at the edge of their limits. And to me, that's going to be the issue for the Reds. Sure, they did fine in that first 20 minutes, but they really, I'm not sure what we can say about the rest. Clearly, it was down to players, not down to low sort of not having enough men on the pitch. But I think this is a thin squad that is going to struggle, especially if things turn against them early.
Yeah, Yeah, they need to be on top and keep 15 men on the field, which is a bit of a Jaguares sort of tactic, isn't it, to not have 15 men on the field? But against a team like the Brumbies, who they're a professional outfit, they do the basic things easy. They like to play forward-dominated, control the tempo, control the speed. I think what the Reds need to do if they want to be in this game is to play an up-tempo game. Play for a bit of speed, play for a bit of excitement, and they've got the players to do it. You look at the side; it's pretty exciting when you got Toas, the Fiawi Sortiers, Karevis, Payawas, Nabulis, all those guys that X-factor players, just not at the top level, but still good enough to definitely perform at Super Rugby level. And if they get decent service from their forwards, which is really going to be the question, they could definitely cause some trouble.
That is going to be a big question, isn't it? I mean, if we look at the Brumbies, they've managed to swap one Arnold for another. Richie Arnold for Rory Arnold, the old twins have switched around there. So they've got depth, they can rotate players. And we look at their back line, if Leofano can run the show with Goodwin, Kurindrani in the centres there, they've got the pace out wide in Penne, Spate and Banks really to cause some damage. So Brumbies, I think, was the team that we all were sort of saying would probably top the Australian Conference. Sure, they didn't do that great against the Sunwolves, but they got the result. And part of what we say about great teams, and I'm not going to say that Brumbies are anything like a great team, but is good teams or great teams win when they're playing badly. And that's what we saw last weekend from the Brumbies, isn't it?
Yeah, and you're right in what you say, but I think one player they need to really get a good performance out of is Kyle Godwin. He's been touted as this great player or this up-and-coming player for so long in Australian rugby. I don't think anyone's yet to really see it. He's got great players outside him, Kurandrani, Spate, Leofano inside as well. Joe Powell's a good young talent at the Brumbies, but he needs to link up the halves to the backs, the rest of the back line, and he's going to be one that's kind of come under pressure to get performances as well for the Brumbies.
No, absolutely, it is. We've got to see them starting to click, and that's and get away from being a team that's known for rolling more tries and known for a bit of more than that. And that's what we're hoping to see this weekend, I think. A couple of comments in the live chat about the Bulls beating the Lions and around the Rebels. We'll get onto those when we talk about their games later on, guys. So don't worry, we are going to talk about that later. But we're just going to go run through the games chronologically. And next up comes the Sunwolves for the Rebels. So yes, about that. Can the Rebels actually take any positives out of that last game? Yes, they got... Oh, sorry, let's go back again. I've got Brumbies by 5. What's your prediction for the last game?
Oh, I've got the Brumbies by 13.
Whoa, you've gone big. I think it'll be a bit closer than that. I didn't think they've got the travel factor of going back up to Japan and back again, and they didn't really show that much in Japan. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going to be. So Sunwolves versus Rebels. Rebels got that big win over the Reds, but could they actually take anything out of that when they're only playing against sort of 13 or 14 men most of the game?
Yeah, the heaps, I think, because that continuity. It's time playing together. It's time playing as a team, as a unit. That's exactly what they needed. Confidence. Confidence in your teammates, confidence in your players, confidence as a squad. Heaps. The Rebels can take a lot out of that. There's a lot to work on still, definitely. There's a lot to improve. But, yeah, they would have gained so much out of that, even though it was a bit of a drubbing in the end. But, yeah, heaps. And to look at the team they named and seeing Jeff Parling on the bench, it will be interesting to see how he goes in Super Rugby as well.
Absolutely. Obviously a player from Exeter Chiefs, which is my team back in the UK, coming through. International quality and international experience come off the bench is going to be fantastic for them. But to me, I'm not sure the Rebels can take that much away from last weekend. It took them a good 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get on top after the Reds had lost a player. Sure, they ran away with it in the end, but when you're playing against a team that is man down for 60 minutes of the game, you should run away with it. And but to me, it took them too long to be able to take advantage and to figure out how to play, to find that gaps, to really to win that one. So yeah, I don't think we can actually take that much out of the Rebels game last weekend. I'm agreeing with Brent on this one that actually the Reds take out more out of it than the Rebels did. Yeah, I don't think we've learned much about the Rebels in that one, and this game will be much more interesting from that point of view. So still, I still think the Rebels are going to get up by 3, but I think this is one of those ones that, and Andre says some of those Rebels could be a tough one to pick. I think it is. It's one of those ones that I think should be won by the bounce of the ball. Hence, I'm going Rebels by 3.
Well, I think we haven't learned so much about the Rebels, but I think the Rebels have learned a lot about the Rebels. That's more where I was going with that. I think out of that match altogether, I don't think we learned much about either of those two sides from our side, from the fan side, but for the players, it was priceless confidence. That's all it's all about. I found this one tough to pick too. I'm going Rebels by just 2. But I was really tempted to go Sunwolves. I was really, really tempted.
And I attempt to do so. So you've gone 2, I've gone 3. Brent has gone by 7. So in the live chat. So yeah, everyone seems to be going Rebels. Perhaps that's more of how the Sunwolves played last season than this season. We'll find out because, hey, Jamie Joseph is a good coach. He's got Brown behind him as well. They've got some good coaches there to lead the Sunwolves. I think it'll take them time, though, personally, to get going, which is why I've gone Rebels. Next up, the Crusaders will be at home against the Stormers. The Stormers obviously lost last weekend against Waratahs. They've not announced their team yet, so we can't really go through their selections. Actually, we should have talked about that before. By the way, Rebels have gone for the same 15 as they had last weekend, which is showing, obviously, backing the guys who have won. This time up, Rebel, obviously, to say, the Stormers lost out that game against Waratahs by some really poor decision-making in tough situations.
Yeah, wow. Where do you start with the old Rebels? I mean, the old Stormers, sorry. God, I'm thinking about the Rebels too much. Yeah, they shot themselves in the foot, didn't they? They were their own worst enemy. Should be travelling with a few points in the bank already from Australia, and now they've got to come play the Crusaders. Doesn't get any easier for a team that already looks pretty good as well, and a team that we know as the Stormers aren't very good on the road. So doesn't bode well for the Stormers, and they need a drastic change from what we've seen from them in Australia, especially the pack. I think is a big thing. The line-out massively. Good better will be the scrum between these two sides, I think. And the Crusaders obviously don't have their biggest or best forwards in this team or in this game. So that's going to be interesting if the Stormers can get a little bit of a one-up there with the set piece at the scrum.
Now, I can't. Okay, fine. The Crusaders may be missing two first-choice All Blacks in their props, but they still have an All Blacks front row. Crockett, Taylor, Alatoa. Isn't he? I thought he got one cap. All right, never mind. Perhaps they've gone and changed who was there last. I think he's okay. We need a stat king to go away and check this out for us. But anyway, so either way, that's a quality front row. Even if Crockett has gone and retired from international rugby just recently, but that's quality front row, backed up by Scott Barrett, Luke, and Sam Whiteclot. Obviously, Luke Romano switches with Barrett, gets a bit of rest on the bench, and that front 5 is not going to go backwards in any scrum. That's a decent sum. They're absolutely fine there. So yeah, I don't think we're going to have any problems up front in the scrum, and I think they're going to be challenging in the line out. Which, let's be honest, if you saw the Stormers last week, you're going to target that because yeah, they did make some mistakes. So in some ways, to me, this is the easiest one to call out of all the games this round. I go for it with the biggest margin. To me, it's Crusaders by 14, at least 2 scores.
Yeah, I've gone Crusaders as well. I've just gone Crusaders by 16, though. Yeah, I think they're going to easily canter to it, but I think there could be a few interesting factors about the game that we could learn a thing about what this Stormers side's made of. And, you know, if they can find a way to challenge the Crusaders somewhere, then everyone else is watching as well. But the Stormers are off for another shaky tour in New Zealand and Australia, aren't they? Just like last season.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, Andre says in the live chat, Stormers are better than everyone thinks. I think they're decent at home. I'm just on the road. I think they're going to struggle, and that's what I'm seeing here. They say decision making lost in the game last weekend. They should have come away with at least a draw this weekend. I don't think the Crusaders will be anywhere nearly as forgiving as the Waratahs. So what's your margin? I've given out mine.
16, I think I said.
16, did you say? Cool, fantastic.
Yes, 16.
16, and we have the G-Man joining us mid-show. Hello, Gareth. How are you doing? Oh, I think he's maybe still waiting for sound. Anyway, we'll let him sort out his technical issues, and he'll jump in, I'm sure, when it's all working. Yep, he's just muted himself, so hopefully he will come online soon. So moving on, the Sharks versus the Waratahs.
That's a good
No,
one.
no, that's the sponsor, Cell C Sharks.
It's a sale. Sorry.
No, Cell Sharks. They're a phone company, I believe. Gareth, you with us? Nope, we have lots of mouth movement for those of you watching the YouTube video. But for those of you on the podcast, absolute deadly silence. Sorry, yep. We'll get G-Man online as soon as... G-Man, just keep talking, and when we hear you, we'll shut up and we'll listen. It'll all be good. So, Sharks versus the Waratahs. The Sharks had a week off after that opening loss against the Lions. Again, another team that we're not really that sure about early doors, I think.
Yeah, I've got a bit of faith in what the Sharks can offer this season. I think more probably what we've learned from the Waratahs when they're at home is what we can take into this one. They weren't anything too convincing. I think that the travel will definitely help the Sharks out on the Waratahs' sake. The fact they've got to go all the way over there to Durban to play this game. And yeah, fresh off a week off, 1 week on, 1 week off, good time for a rest. I'm sure they'll disagree with that. But yeah, Waratahs didn't look that convincing, and I don't think they're going to get any better in Africa. And the Sharks, yeah, a lot they need to improve on from that game against the Lions. The scrum for them, the forwards probably weren't as good as they could be. So definitely an area that they could definitely improve on and work on. But I think against the Waratahs, they should have a pretty good ride home on that one.
No, absolutely. I think that the Sharks, they're a team they're the team that we thought would be the top challengers for the Lions. And yes, don't worry, Steve, about the typing in the chat there. That's drunk typing by me, telling Gareth to talk, mate. And yeah, I think Gareth, drop off, come back on, and hopefully we'll get your sound. Anyway, so I think the Sharks there. Yeah, with the team that we're expecting to have grown. They're a young team that's coming through and building. They've got themselves probably the top South African fly half now in Dupria, and I think that's just going to help them grow. And we should be seeing some strong performances from them. Sure, up against the Lions, the team that has made the final in the last 2 seasons, it's always going to be a tough game away to open the season. Against Waratahs at home, who have just struggled to see away the Stormers. Yeah, I've got to say this has got to be a Cell Sharks by 5. You've got to put that name in my head now, and so yeah, so I'm backing the Sharks by 5 in this one. I don't think the Waratahs' key players will be enough to. You've not gone by 5 as well, have you?
You've done it again, twice in the same week. Sharks by 5 for me. Yep.
Oh dear. Brent says that Sharks can blow hot and cold, and they need to be in their physicality. Tars won't handle that. Yeah, exactly. For me, the Tars are a team around their superstars. So it's around if Hooper, Foley, Beale, and Falau are playing well, then they tend to do well. But I think if the Sharks do add some pressure up front, they should take that one rather comfortably. Andre, I know you're saying stick with the Sharks, Paul, but in the live chat there. But mate, I know you're a Sharks supporter through and through. If we cut you open, we'd see that black jersey all the way through. Now, the reason I say that is the Sharks apparently this game are giving every accredited reporter who turns up to the game a black Sharks jersey because that's their home colours. So we'll see if
Sharks by 20 in that case.
All the extra supporters in the press are going to make that big difference. So to me, the big game of the weekend is going to be this next one. The Bulls hosting the Lions. 2 teams that aren't very far away from each other, both of them who play at altitude. So neither of them can use that excuse. I think it's going to be a massive game there.
Yeah, huge game. Who would have thought that after pre-season or before the start of the first round, we'll be saying the Bulls would be match of the week in a couple of weeks. One performance from them, and they're the team to beat at the moment now, aren't they? The Lions, still the same Lions, aren't they? They're still the same Lions. And you've got to look at this team and say, yes, the battle up front will be quite a decisive thing. But for the Bulls, I think at the backs is where it's going to be a really big battle. If the Bulls can control the Lions in the backs, that's going to be a big battle. But yeah, I can't wait to see those big locks running for the Bulls again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think for the Bulls on an attacking front, it's going to be how that front 5 manage to get over the gain line, get that offloading game going, and that was just so exciting to watch last weekend. I've never seen, well, okay, never. I can't remember seeing a South African. Maybe I've watched a game and just not seen the stats. Let's be honest, I do generally have a couple of beers during a game, so memory can be one of those fickle things. But I can't remember seeing a South African team that has beaten a New Zealand team and have had more offloads than the New Zealand team. So it was 12-10 from memory at the weekend of offloads between of Bulls compared to the Hurricanes. That kind of game is really hard to stop because those big locks, they need two guys to tackle them. If you've got another lock running off his shoulder, that's another two guys to tackle him as well. And having that many guys just in that physical space takes a lot of organisation, and it's hard to do. I think it's extremely difficult to stop. Brett Mitchell is a genius, though. Now, I get Mitchell is revered in South Africa. He was a guy that a lot of people say laid the foundations for the Lions to become what they are today. Over in New Zealand, he's not held in such high esteem. And looking back at the stats, I think that's more about how he handles the press than necessarily how he handles his tactics.
Well, yeah, we could talk about John Mitchell all day, couldn't we, really? Yeah, we really could. He's had a storied history. He's been around for a long time. He's done a lot. He's done everything. But it's his style, how he plays. All the South African people were going on about he being the difference, being changed, the culprit for them. Yes, involved with the Lions before they started. Done good things. Can't argue with that. And roll on Mitchell for Springboks coach.
Oh dear. Maybe after the Rugby World Cup, obviously we've got Rasmussen, who is going to be who's stepping into.
Come on.
After one game, I mean, come on. There are bandwagons
as well.
Now I've just got to talk to my mate, the yellow cap, to send me a Bulls shirt. But hey, we'll be getting him back on the show sometime soon, definitely. Especially if the Bulls win this one. But I'm positive here. I'm going for the Bulls by 3.
I am going to Lions by 4.
The first one we've disagreed on. Here we go.
Yes. I can't believe I'm surprised you're going the Bulls. What's your big reason behind the Bulls?
2 things. One, their performance last weekend was very good. Now, maybe I'm overstating that. And then secondly, they are playing at home. The Lions have only ever beaten the Bulls at Loftus once, ever in history. This is a fortress for the Bulls. Now, sure, they were in different conferences last year, of the last 2 years, so perhaps they didn't play each other quite as often. But still, the Lions have only ever won once at Loftus. And then, so I think it is a fortress.
Good stat.
Boom! Dropped the stats. Oh dear. So yeah, there we go. That's the first one we disagreed on. Let's see how we go with the last one. Jaguares versus the Hurricanes. Now, before we get into this one, everybody, if you're awake on Sunday morning, do dial in, because myself and Ryan from the Tribe Sports app will be doing a live post-match review to this one. And let's hope it's a good one, because I must admit, this one could easily just blow out and be an away win, surely.
Yeah, it easily could. Depends what we see from the Hurricanes. What is the Hurricanes of 2018? Who knows? I think we know what we're going to see from the Jaguares, though. Much like we've seen last 2 weeks, probably a couple of yellow cards, a bit of excitement. Last week they were pretty good. I was impressed with how they played in the opening stanza of the game. They did drop their heads a lot when they got that bad call against them, but if they can put that for 80 minutes, they could be a decent challenge. But you're right. The Hurricanes turn up should put this one in the coffin.
So my problem with Jaguares in the first 2 rounds has been when a referee decision goes against them, when they pick up a yellow card, they lose the plot a bit. And that for the next few minutes, the heads aren't in the game. They're more upset with how they're being treated by the ref than they are in the game, and therefore they lose ground, they lose possession, they lose territory, they lose a lot of stuff, and it all goes against them. It just all adds up. So that's the first thing they have to eradicate. They need to eradicate this whole persecution thing and their heads dropping during the game. They need to maintain their morale the whole way through. And I don't think they do that. I have been impressed by the locks, they have not picked up penalties. Unfortunately, the front row has decided to say, hey, it's our turn now. You've had the fun for the last 2 seasons. Now we're going to be the naughty South African playboys, and we're just going to mess around instead. So they need the whole team to stand up and not give away those penalties, and definitely not pick up those yellow cards. That's just an absolute killer for them. Now, the governor, Riff Raff, wants to know, why has Bowden been starting on the bench?
I'd like to know that too. Because that is $1 million question. I don't know if you've seen the review we did a few days ago.
Sorry, I was on the review with you. Have I seen it?
Watching, goodness me, Paul. Come on, get off the program.
Oh, sorry, 2 beers. That's the problem. Oh, 3 beers.
3 beers, 300 beers. But we talked about that. The situation given at that time when the Hurricanes were trailing by about 4 points, bringing Bowden on. Where does he go? I think they bring him on at fullback and just not have him starting that game. The difference was just astronomical.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but West is not a Super Rugby fly half. I've watched him for the last couple of seasons as a Blues supporter, and yes, he has some wonderful things that he does, but unfortunately, he tends to mess it up as well, and he just doesn't have the consistency, the control around his game. Towards the end of that game, everything was, to me, there was one play which was a microcosm of the whole game. You had Bowden Barrett running with the ball. West picked a fantastic line off him and took the pass. And then the first thing he did was he went and chipped it straight into the hands of a defender, and it was game over. At that point, it was late in the game, and there just wasn't going to be the chance of them coming back from that. And so, yeah, West to me he can't stop the game. He's not a Super Rugby player. Not a Super Rugby fly half. He just doesn't have the control to play that game. And yeah, that's what to me lost in the game basically.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a bit better coming off the bench later on if you give him the last 20 minutes or so of the game. A bit more effectual. Starting he's not a threat at all. He doesn't have the space outside.
No. So I'm going for the Hurricanes by 7 because I say they weren't that good last weekend. They're travelling again across South Africa. Admittedly, the Jaguares are having to travel home as well. But I'm going by 7. What's your margin, sir?
I do have the Hurricanes by 12.
12. Oh, that's the second largest margin of the weekend. You're not going big this weekend. There's no 20s in there, which is interesting. So yeah, it should be a good good fun weekend for watching games. They're going to be relatively close. There aren't going to be that many blowouts, and it is fun seeing that Governor Riff Raff's comment, even after all these years later, Mitchell just reminds me of not picking Cullen. And at the end of the day, his entire career, his entire life comes down to one decision of whether he did or didn't pick one of New Zealand's favourite sons. And unfortunately, his entire coaching career will be coloured by that one choice. Anyway.
Forever judged.
Forever judged by that one choice, exactly. It's been a pleasure, as always, Steve. So tell people, where can they get hold of you during away from these videos?
Well, Cornflakes Crib is all you need to know. You can find me YouTube, Twitter, all over the place on there. And hopefully next time I join you, I won't have I don't know what's wrong with the mic, but something's taken over my computer. So awesome. Yeah,
we've had a few level issues this evening. So please just cope with those. We will have our normal levels and sound and fantastic technology stuff working again next time, hopefully. Obviously, it's been Paul. Hi, I'm the guy behind DrivingMaul. At DrivingMaul is where you can get hold of me on Twitter. That's where I live my entire life. But if you want to put some comments below, then please do that, and I will reply to those. Always up for good rugby chat. On the recording, my face is there. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Up there is a box with my latest video, and you'll love that one. So please do watch that too. And obviously, if you're on the podcast, do subscribe to your favorite podcasting app and give us a 5-star review. Other stars are available, but why would you want to do that? And thank you, everybody. It's been a blast, and enjoy whatever you're watching this weekend.